Here we have an Alienware R13 laptop and it came because it doesn't power on. It's also a bit sparky. It's sparking from the DC in port. So check the power supply, it's fine. Eliminated the cable itself, any wear and tear on this cable, this is fine. The measurements here on the DC in are mixed bag. It seems half a kilo ohm on most of the inductors, which is low. So I could now search for maybe a schematic and trace the entire thing, maybe take out the entire board, start investigating. But what I will do instead to maybe hopefully find the fault easily, I'll just solder in some cables here to the DC in port, and I'll try to use thermal camera to determine where there is a short. It's maybe not even direct short to ground. It's normally taking in 19 volts. So I'll probably start with just 1 volt and see. Connected the cable straight to the plus here, and I was using this as a ground, which is fine. So it is not direct short to ground by any means. So I was using thermal camera, but my thermal camera is kind of shitty, it's only 64 by 64 pixels, so I don't get to see the exact component. But it pointed here to in this vicinity. So you see this small component there? There is like a small hole in it. I thought that may just be the indication that this is pin 1. But it's not in the right place, really. I've checked all the capacitors there surrounding it, and they're all fine. It's just a small hole there. So what I will do next is I'll use isopropyl alcohol and just let's put some alcohol on the chip and in all the surrounding components there, and connect the DC power supply again and see how the alcohol evaporates. So this will point me to the exact component. But still, the thermal camera is very nice because if you can't, you will never see this problem. If it's the problem, you could never see that. So because, like I said, it just looks like a indicator. Yeah, there's nothing else visually wrong with the board. There is this half of kilo ohm resistance everywhere, which is, yeah, I think it's way too low. Laptop like this, there should be much more resistance between ground and the power. I would think all the fuses are right. So yeah, but this component, if this is the problem, yeah, that's how come I never get an easy repair? I never get like, oh, the capacitor is just shorted to ground, or whatever, fuse is blown. No, I always get things like that. Oh, well. I also checked what that is. Of course it's a MOSFET. It's a dual n-channel MOSFET. Because it's always MOSFET, right? It's never a capacitor, it's always a MOSFET. Okay, so this double MOSFET is in place, but I needed to take out this one.
This got a strong beating, so I'll be replacing that as well. More of the same. So after getting rid of this one, measuring this one, unfortunately, this still is short from here to here and to here. There is no short to ground on this one because it's the high MOSFET. This is the low MOSFET. So both were blown, plus this was blown, right? This is now changed. This double N-channel MOSFET here, the small one. So that was a lot of damage. At this point, I'm thinking, is the rest of the thing alright? Backlit, CPU, but at this point, I'm not that hopeful anymore about this laptop. Okay, so I took out the both MOSFETs right now and the double channel and MOSFET. This is the other side of the board, and this is another MOSFET blown just right here, or something is causing it to short. All these capacitors here all shorted, every single one is shorted. I even found some capacitor on the other side of the board, on the other side of the entire circuitry. I found another one that is shorting, although I've tested it, took it out of the board, it itself is fine. But at this point I'm taking out a lot of components and the short is still here. Well, okay, these are now missing, this is now missing. This capacitor I just tested. Yeah, and there is no short here apart from this one capacitor. But the problem is on the other side of the board now. So that's the other side. We can see GPU, CPU, all those very low resistance, I'll say short to ground. But that may be expected, right? These, same thing. I don't think CPU should have 1 ohm to ground. I would expect the CPU to be in, I don't know, 30 ohms, 40 ohms, 50 ohms to ground. So GPU very low resistance, or with my meter it just doesn't really matter because it's a shitty meter. So I'm getting like half an ohm on the meter, which is really what the leads are. Same here. I found one capacitor that has 1 ohm. Both of these are shorted to ground. These MOSFETs here. Right. Let's see here. The biggest capacitors. There's plenty of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see 7. So this MOSFET shorts between every single thing. So the gate is shorted, the source and the drain is shorted. This one's not shorted. Every single cap is shorted, and voltage injection is completely inconclusive because although it shows direct short to ground, so it's no longer constant voltage, jumps to almost 6 amps, and not one part is getting hot. It's rather the hot is distributed across the board, the entire board. So I'm thinking this is dead. Either GPU failed, because you know it's never the CPU, but whatever failed took the power rail with it. because of the stress of on the MOSFETs and yada yada yada. So I just wanted to confirm. Can someone confirm that this is just that if all this, and all this, and all this is shorted to ground, and there is just maybe I don't know, and there may be one capacitor that shorts all of it? Not sure.